Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video, and it looks like things might potentially be heating up in the transfer market. Finally, the ball is going to be rolling very soon, and the latest links are names we've heard before, but it's starting to become a little bit more interesting. And yeah, the first name being Edson Alvarez of Ajax, and the second one, a more familiar name, obviously James Ward-Prowse of Southampton. Now, both of these players heavily linked with us for the past kind of couple of months now. James Ward-Prowse a little bit longer. It looks like Dortmund are kind of out the race now for Alvarez, which has opened the door to us. And it's being reported that we have now contacted Ajax again to express our interest in signing him. No bid has come yet, but that is expected to follow. And Ajax want in the region of 35 to 40 million. Interesting development, because before it was kind of quoted that he'd be around 45 to 50 million. Now that's being rumored to be 35 to 40 million. And a bid potentially is expected to be going in soon. So it'll be interesting to see how that one develops. And James Ward-Prowse, again, another one that could be moving on, which is we are preparing a £25 million bid to sign the Southampton midfielder. So, I mean, yeah, we're not messing about once the Declan Rice sale goes through, which is expected to happen today, Friday or tomorrow. So I think that's when we can start to expect the movement, because we'll finally have that first kind of lump sum of 33 million in the transfer kitty for this summer, and it'll free us up from kind of the FFP regulations we are under at the moment. And we're on a tightrope, so we have to be careful with how we spend it and when we spend it. So yeah, let's look at how this would kind of shape up, because you look at the midfielders we currently have: Downs, Souček, Fornals. You'd expect those three names really to be backups, to be kind of the second string for what Moyes wants to do in that midfield three, if he is to sign the likes of Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse. And both of those would kind of come into the midfield three. So it would look something like this. Now, again, that's not kind of set in stone. Fornals might come in for someone else, unless he's played on the left again by Moyes, or Souček, another one that isn't really dropped under the Scots' reign. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But that is how the potential midfield three could pan out if these two signings were to go ahead once the Declan Rice sale goes through. And I think it'd be interesting to see, because Alvarez only 25 years old, Paqueta 25 years old, but then you have Ward-Prowse 28, pushing towards 29 this year. So we've spoke a lot about on this channel that we need to start targeting the younger caliber of players. Now, Edson Alvarez kind of fits into that, because he's still only 25. He's still got years of football ahead of him, and it's reducing that kind of age gap already. And Ward-Prowse is one I'm slightly hesitant on, but we'll get into that shortly. So let's look at how, those three midfielders last year compared in terms of the statistics. Now, one thing to mention is Alvarez played in the Eredivisie, which means his percentile stats are kind of different from Ward-Prowse and Paqueta, because he's playing in an easier league, basically. But this is how they look kind of side by side. You can kind of see the ages there. Alvarez, if you want to focus on the middle one right now, really high defensive stats, 84th percentile for duel percentage, almost a 90th percentile for defensive actions, 94th percentile for progressive carries, forward passes, 98th percentile, forward pass accuracy, 91.6%. And then, progressive passes at the end, then 95.9%. So immediately you can kind of see the player that Alvarez is. Good on the ball, progresses with intent. And that's something we need to have in the midfield, because, Rice was good at that, whether he was doing it with effective passing or whether he was carrying it himself. It looks like Alvarez can do similar stuff. And, at only 25 years old, he's only a year older than Declan Rice. So it's not too dissimilar in terms of the profile coming in. And also, it kind of allows us to recruit that other 8 position a little bit differently. And it's probably why we're trying to go after James Ward-Prowse, because he's someone that Moyes likes, and we know that we are a team that thrives on set pieces, and we just know that having someone like Ward-Prowse in there is going to get us goals, whether it's from free kicks or corners. And I really do think that's the big incentive behind Moyes signing him at such a bit, 28 years old. For 25 million in our first bid, he's probably going to cost us around 30 to 35 million to get that deal done. It's not something I would personally do. You look at these kind of stats here, and, if you want to compare, it's kind of difficult to see, because you look at Paqueta and Ward-Prowse as the kind of comparison as they were playing in the Premier League, and you look at the difference there. Ward-Prowse defensive actions, kind of similar to Paqueta, but Paqueta actually does more. Duel percentage, Ward-Prowse involved in more duels. Progressive carries, again, it's something Ward-Prowse will not do. He'll sit in there, he'll pass the ball around, but he won't progress with the ball himself. Paqueta, very much a different type of 8, where he will carry the ball forwards. Forward passes, again, we know Paqueta is a very forward-thinking player who will try and create opportunities. Ward-Prowse, slightly less so, and will play the safer option when needs be. And, and that's kind of reflected in the forward pass percentage for Paqueta. It's quite low, but he plays those risky passes. So those stats are always going to drop down. I've said it many times on this channel, likens to KDB in terms of the pass percentage and the actual passes forward that he makes. And then you look at the key passes, when it comes to Ward-Prowse and his key passes, I would expect a lot of those to come from set pieces. Whereas Paqueta, not one that takes set pieces for West Ham. So they're all coming from open play, and you can kind of tell the difference. And yeah, progressive passes, Paqueta a lot more progressive than Ward-Prowse. So it depends on the blend of midfield that Moyes wants. With Alvarez, he's going to be kind of the 6, the anchor, defensively very solid. He will try and play those forward passes, even playing 6. And I think that would be a really, really good signing, especially for 35 to 40 million. We should be absolutely doing everything we can to bring him in as the 6, because we need to, as we've mentioned it many times, we need to replace Rice with 2 players. And it looks like Alvarez and Ward-Prowse, or even Zakaria, another name we've been linked to, could be those players to come in. Now, my problem with this midfield 3 is you're just lacking something there. It feels like it would be very easy to play through on that right-hand side, because we've seen it with Ward-Prowse a lot last season for Southampton. Yes, they played in a very high-intensive pressing team, but he was very easy to play around just because he isn't that mobile. He's not amazing at getting stuck into tackles just because of the size of him. And yes, in possession, he would be great to have because he's very good at ticking the ball over, as the stats suggested. And you also have such a great set-piece threat, which we don't have really, because you saw in the first kind of year and a half of Moyes' reign, set pieces was our thing, counter-attacking was our thing. We tried to progress, and that's kind of diluted a little bit in the last year. So maybe Moyes is trying to get that back with Ward-Prowse coming in to go on to set pieces, whether that be free kicks or corners. But it just lacks something. It's something that I feel like it will be Paqueta dependent on again. And should Paqueta get injured in that instance, you have someone like Fornals coming in who, again, is very tidy on the ball. He will look to progress passes, but he doesn't have that engine that Paqueta has. He doesn't have the ability to progress past players as easily because he's just not as fast. He's not as tenacious. And he might have the technical ability that Paqueta has, but he just doesn't have that engine to play in the 8 as that kind of solo carrier if you were to play Ward-Prowse next to him. So again, Alvarez, not someone that's got blistering pace, and he's got the engine. He's definitely got the engine to play in the Premier League. So that's why I'd be all over him coming in as a 6, because it would relinquish that defensive absence that Rice is going to leave when he goes to Arsenal, if he's already gone to Arsenal. So Alvarez coming in, it kind of shores that up, and you then have a 6 that isn't just going to play it backwards and sideways. He's going to look to play forward passes. He's going to look to break the lines to the likes of Paqueta, to your left wing, right wing, whether you're advancing fullbacks. He's not going to play the safe option every time. Might take him a little bit of time to adapt to the Premier League to get the confidence to start doing that, but he's absolutely got the ability to do that. So when you bring someone like Ward-Prowse in and you sit those 2 together with Paqueta on the left, there are question marks about where, other than Paqueta's kind of tenacity and bravery on the ball, where we're going to find those spaces. Because if you're going to have Alvarez link into Paqueta, for example, you're then going to have Ward-Prowse kind of sitting in there, ticking the ball over. And we've seen that when we have a right-sided 8, like Souček has been playing last season, who isn't really in the game, it can have a lot of strain on the other side. And, we saw it a lot last season. Rice would come out to the left, Paqueta, another one that would drift in between the lines. And we'd try and build up through the left-hand side with Benrahma, and Bowen would look to get in behind when he can on the other side. So for me, it helps us in terms of regaining possession. If Ward-Prowse was to come in over Souček in that eight position, I mean, that's just a given because of Souček's limitations on the ball. But what Souček offers us defensively in comparison to Ward-Prowse is second to none. So we're losing that aspect. So you then have to weigh up the options of how that would balance. And for the price tag Ward-Prowse is being, you know, set at for around 30 to 35 million. For me, it's a waste of money, and there's better options out there. We've spoken about it on our channel already, so go and check out the top 10 Declan Rice replacements video we did. We looked at 6s and 8s. So yeah, I think there's better options out there. There's younger options out there, and there's players that can do what Ward-Prowse does and better. So that's my kind of view on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, whether you think this double swoop for Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse that could be imminent would be a good thing. Would you like to see a midfield three of Alvarez, Ward-Prowse and Paqueta in the middle next season? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as always. And until next time, come on you Irons.